Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Catching up with our guy, Chris Burke, ESPN college baseball analyst. And Burke, good morning, man. How you doing?
What is up? What is up? How's everybody doing?
Man, we are great, man. The city is on fire right now with Tennessee baseball. And, man, kind of describe, the scene from your point of view down there in Hoover.
Man, from my point of view, is the momentum grew as the week went on. There was, and forgive me if this was you guys, but we're all friends, so I could call you out if it was you. There was this narrative going around that somehow the SEC baseball tournament doesn't matter. And obviously our fan base had been, let's just say, not exactly treated to great showings in the past. So there wasn't a ton of fans there early. Then we lose to Bama. And then once we beat Mississippi State, there was quite a few fans there the next time we played Bama. And then the Florida game, it felt like a Tennessee home game. And then, of course, Arkansas's got an amazing fan base too. So the championship game was maybe, I would say, 60-40. The orange is so bright and so loud that it always feels like there's more orange there. But even from a noise perspective, I would say maybe it was about 60-40 Tennessee, but it was quite a scene. And the ovation for Tony was like nothing I'd ever seen before for a coach.
Chris, what did you learn about this Tennessee baseball team in Hoover, maybe that you were unsure of or were questioning that maybe they can take into this weekend for the regionals?
Well, I think anytime you see every team in the league in one venue in the same week, it becomes a very good measuring stick for where everybody stacks up. And it was cool for me because it doesn't always happen this way. For whatever reason, I got most of Tennessee's games that were actually on our air this year. So a lot of our other analysts had not seen them in person. So Ben McDonald, Kyle Peterson had not seen them in person. Cool for me to hear them, just be so impressed with Tennessee's club, specifically their position player group. I mean, I think you could make a good case that they have just as good a position player group as anybody in the country, and they certainly played like that. So just the way the offense showed up after a tough first game, the defense was fantastic all week, and I think if from Tony Vittello and Frank Anderson's perspective, I think they learned a lot about Cam Sewell. Rockers gave them some good innings in the championship game out of the bullpen. That's an arm that I guess had been injured. He was up to 95. And, the bullpen pieces have been great all year. And so that wasn't a huge surprise. But I would say on top of that, the way Blade Tidwell showed up in a moment like that, I think he's really established himself as a superstar in the making.
What do you or how do you feel, or what would you say about Tennessee's draw in the NCAA tournament? That region being paired with Wright State, and they're not your normal fourth seed. How do you feel about Tennessee draw? I know a lot of people were very, very critical of the draw that Tennessee got. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't subscribe to conspiracy theories. There's no history of the selection committee shortchanging Tennessee in baseball draws. I'm not aware of any basketball draws that have felt overly harsh. So I don't live in the conspiracy world, but I'm just not sure how you walk out of that process and nobody says, hey, let's look at this Knoxville regional again. We really use this RPI metric a lot, and 4 of the top 36 RPI teams are in one regional. Maybe we should rethink this one. Wright State's 25th in the country in the RPI. What are they, like 36-2 in their last 38 or something insane, and lead the country in offense. Liberty beat Tennessee once in a regional just 2 years ago. And Duke won 12 games in a row and won the ACC tournament championship. So it doesn't feel like there's a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. To be honest with you, I mean, maybe you could say that there's a 1, a 2, and 2 3s, but I would argue that the 2 3s are pretty good 3s.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely, let's put it this way, there is definitely not a 4 seed in that regional.
Chris, how would you manage the pitching this weekend? I would imagine that Tony Vittello and Frank Anderson won't get too cute and try to outthink the room. I imagine Chad Dallas would pitch against Wright State on Friday, but would you come back with Will Heflin or Blake Tidwell on Saturday?
Tidwell's going to throw second. Tony told us that last week. So, yeah, they're going to go Dallas, Tidwell, Heflin. And I think, just covering the sport as long as I have now, I think there is a lot of value in having your best arm second. Because if you think about it, in the regionals, from the regional standpoint, if Dallas can do his thing and Tidwell wins, now you're in the regional final. Somebody's got to beat you twice. In the super regional format, you're either the number 2 guy's either pitching to go to Omaha or pitching to keep your season alive. So, you could argue that 2 slot is the most important slot and where you want your best arm. Obviously, you want to get off to a good start in game 1, but whoever you face in game 2 is probably, like I said, you could make a case is the most important start of your season.
Chris Burke here on the Swain Event, ESPN. I look at baseball. I think baseball is one of those games where you got to have a high level of concentration, man. I mean, to be able to hit a baseball is hard in itself. To be able to catch a baseball is hard in itself. My 7-year-old self will tell you that, who got a black eye and a swollen face. But, I just have so much respect for baseball players, man, because the level of concentration has to be at a different level. Well, you have a lot of outside noise now if you're a Tennessee baseball player because, your coach is being mentioned with this job, that job, leaving, staying, and this is like the worst time ever for that to be going on. And more fans are talking about, Chris, do you think Danny White knows that Tony Vittello probably needs a new contract? Because it seems like every time I turn around on Twitter, there's somebody, mentioning Danny White, telling him to pay Tony Vittello. You think the AD has any idea that it's time to pay Tony Vittello?
I will say this. Our administration has done everything they possibly can to, from a commitment standpoint, to keep the current staff. So I think we're at a place now where Tony, and rightfully so, has earned the opportunity to listen to other people and decide where he wants to take his career from a coaching perspective. But from all accounts that have been shared with me, our administration has definitely got the message. They are super excited about the trajectory of the program, and they are doing everything from a competitive offer and an investment in facility standpoint they can to keep them.
I think that's very, very important to know.
It is. I think administration are easy people to take shots at, and you had me on quite a few times this year, and I've been very obvious about my thoughts about where the program is and where it can be, and my hope for their level of investment in it. And they've done nothing but show that they see it through the same lens. But again, Tony's worked his whole life to put himself in a position where the best college baseball program in the sport, the job is open, and I'm sure they're interested. And, one of the most probably sleeping giant programs in the sport is open, and I'm sure they're interested. So I don't think any of us would begrudge him if he chooses to listen. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, follow up on that, Chris. Just talking about the concentration, man. The players. I mean, how do you make sure your players are locked in, man, when you have all that stuff going on? Because here we are at the end of the season, and there's more and more. You're kind of a victim of your own success. There's more distractions. There's more fans that want Vittello. There's more fans that are being vocal. There's more fans, making sure that Tennessee administration hears them out, and there's more talk about Tony Vittello being connected to this job or that job. If you're Tony, how do you keep your players locked in?
Well, I think that'll be the interesting part about this, won't it? You know, that'll be what we'll have to gauge and watch. I would just say I don't think there's a playbook for answering some of those questions. But one thing I've noticed about Tony is he just tends to be a straight shooter. So my guess is he's doing that with his guys. From a play on the field standpoint, I would say the team itself has been so consistent with how they've answered the bell all year long throughout the course of the grind of just the competition, but then also the different adversities that have been thrown their way. So I would expect the job conversations very much in the back burner, and the conversation is, look how disrespected we were by the regional they sent us. Look how much our fans are here to support us. The place is sold out. Let's go out here and prove the country that, you know, what we've done so far to this point is no fluke. And who cares who they gave us? Let's go out there and win a game. You know, that would be my guess.
Chris, what do you think of Tennessee's potential super regional? Potentially Oregon flying across the country. You have LSU and Paul Maneri's kind of ride into the sunset there as well. Gonzaga, Central Connecticut. What do you think about a potential super regional for Tennessee?
Yeah, I think as much as the regional doesn't make sense, the super regional draw is certainly in line with being the number 3 seed. So, you know, Oregon, you know, based on seeding I think they finished second. But based on their seeding, they're essentially the third best team in the pack. And then you've got, you know, Gonzaga, who's not necessarily a name brand, number 2, even though Gonzaga is a team that went on the road and beat TCU 2 out of 3. And then an LSU team that you swept at home. Very dangerous and obviously would not be intimidated at all. But I think from that standpoint, Tennessee would certainly like their chances, and it's just a matter of taking care of business this weekend to draw what would be the first ever super regional in Knoxville, which would be pretty cool.
And then I also wanted to get your thoughts on Vanderbilt. It kind of seems to me, and you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker are running out of gas, and it may be affecting that baseball team. What was your perception of Vanderbilt these last couple of weeks and in the SEC tournament?
I think it's a very tough league with very good coaching and really talented players. And the deeper you get into the league, the more you take that ball out on that mound, especially when you start running up against people the second time, it becomes tougher and tougher to just be that dominant, right? You know, the old saying early in the season, pitching has the advantage. Later in the season, hitting has the advantage. I just think bore out a little bit with those two. I still think it's the best 1-2 combination in the country. And I think get them outside of the league, and you're going to see very similar results.
Chris Burke, ESPN. Man, Chris, always a pleasure to have you, man. I know you're super busy, especially this time of the year, and really appreciate your time this morning, man. Always making time for the Swain event, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Appreciate you guys giving baseball so much love this year, and looking forward to hopefully being on next week talking about a super.
Let's do it.
All right, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Later. You got it.